All right, get ready, because today we're diving deep into the mind of Carl Jung.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, we're going to explore this idea of synchronicity and how it connects to something Jung called the collective unconscious.
Right.
Our guide for this journey is a YouTube video from the Psyche's Journey. It's called Carl Jung. This is not a coincidence. The universe is sending you a message.
Interesting.
Have you ever had those times where, like, totally random events feel strangely meaningful?
Yeah, like what kind of things?
Like, maybe you see a certain number everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Or you bump into the right person at just the right time. That could be synchronicity at play, you know?
I see what you mean. That's fascinating how Jung goes beyond just calling these things coincidences.
Yeah.
Like he defines synchronicity as meaningful coincidences that really challenge our typical understanding of cause and effect.
Right.
And the key here is that they don't just happen, they actually feel deeply significant. Almost like a message from the universe itself, you know?
Okay, so it's not just the event, but the feeling it gives.
Exactly.
I'm intrigued. The video mentions some pretty interesting examples.
Like what?
Like meeting the perfect person at the perfect time, dreams that seem to predict what's going to happen, or stumbling upon a book that answers a question you've been struggling with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be honest, some of that stuff sounds a little out there.
Well, yeah, the video definitely leans into that mystical side of things.
Right.
And it brings up some really interesting questions about how these synchronicities connect us to something other than ourselves.
Right.
And this is where Jung's idea of the collective unconscious comes in.
Right, the collective unconscious.
Yeah.
I kind of remember that from psych class. It's a pretty dense concept.
It is. It is.
The video describes it as a psychic substrate of a super-personal nature.
Right.
Honestly, that sounds like something from a sci-fi.
It does. It does.
Can you break it down for us? Like, make it make sense.
Okay, think of it like this. Imagine this huge shared network of human experiences.
Okay.
It's almost like a universal internet.
Right.
Where we're all connected unconsciously. It's not just about individual thoughts and feelings, but a deep well of like archetypes, instincts, and wisdom that we all tap into, whether we're aware of it or not.
Right.
It's this idea that we're not isolated, but connected on a level beyond our conscious mind.
Whoa. Okay, that's a much easier way to understand it than psychic substrate.
Yeah, maybe a little.
So are you saying that synchronicities could be like ripples in this collective unconscious?
Exactly.
Like a way for it to talk to us individually?
Yes, and here's where the video gets even more interesting.
Okay.
It talks about people who might be especially tuned into this collective unconscious. They call them the chosen ones.
Chosen ones.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm a little skeptical about that term. It sounds a little exclusive, like it implies that only certain people can tap into this deeper awareness.
Yeah, like a superhero movie or something.
Well, makes them so special.
Yeah, what makes someone a chosen one in this whole Jungian context?
Well, the video says these individuals are incredibly sensitive to how the psyche works.
Okay.
They experience synchronicities way more intensely. They have vivid, almost prophetic dreams.
Whoa.
And they feel this strong pull towards individuation, the process of becoming a whole self.
Okay.
So essentially, they're more aware of and influenced by these unconscious forces at play.
So it's not that they're chosen in a predetermined way,
Right.
but they're just more sensitive to the frequency of the collective unconscious, like
Right.
having better reception on a radio.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
We all have the potential to tune in.
Right.
But some people might have a clearer channel for different reasons.
I see.
And this brings us to another fascinating concept that the video talks about.
What's that?
Archetype.
Okay, archetypes. I remember those from literature class.
Yeah.
The hero, the villain, the wise mentor.
Right, exactly.
But how do they fit into Jungian psychology?
Well, think of archetypes as these universal, primal patterns of human experience that live within this collective unconscious. They're like blueprints for those classic characters and stories that show up across cultures and throughout history.
Right.
You know, the hero who goes on a journey, the shadow that represents our darker side, the wise old sage who offers guidance. Those are all expressions of archetypes.
So it's not just about characters and stories,
Yeah.
but these fundamental patterns of behavior and motivation that we all share.
Exactly. And by understanding these archetypes, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
I see.
For example, have you ever noticed how certain themes just keep popping up
Oh, yeah.
in your dreams or even in the challenges you face in your everyday life?
You know what? Now that you mention it, I have had some pretty intense dreams lately with these recurring symbols that I just figure.
Interesting.
Is that what you're talking about?
It could be. And that's where things get really exciting.
Okay.
Jung believed that these archetypes, along with synchronicity, can give us valuable insights into our unconscious minds and guide us on this path to individuation.
This is all super fascinating.
Yeah.
But I have to say, it's also a lot to process.
It is.
We've got synchronicities, the collective unconscious, archetypes.
Right.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
How does it all connect?
Yeah.
And what does it actually mean for us in our everyday lives?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's what we're going to explore more as we continue our deep dive.
Okay.
But before we go there,
yeah,
I'm curious, what stands out to you the most so far?
What's grabbing my attention?
Yeah?
Honestly, it's the idea that we're all connected to this huge unconscious network of human experience. It's kind of humbling.
Yeah.
But also empowering, don't you think?
It is.
It makes you wonder what else is down there in the depths of the collective unconscious.
Absolutely. And maybe even more intriguing is how these synchronicities might be glimpses into that hidden world.
Right.
Messages from the depths of our shared psyche.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Right.
Let's dive deeper into this Jungian rabbit hole and see where it leads us.
Let's do it.
We're back and ready to go even deeper into the world of Carl Jung.
Right.
We've been talking about this idea of a collective unconscious,
right,
those fascinating synchronicities and these universal patterns called archetypes.
Yeah.
But now it's time to face a part of ourselves that's maybe a little less pleasant.
Oh.
What can you tell us about the shadow self?
It's true. The shadow is not exactly the most appealing part of our psyche.
Right.
But Jung didn't see it as something to be afraid of.
Okay.
He thought of the shadow as a key part of who we are. Not something to avoid, but something to understand and, dare I say, embrace.
Okay, I'm all for self-improvement.
Yeah.
But embracing my shadow self, that sounds kind of scary.
I get it.
What exactly are we talking about here?
Think of it as those hidden or disowned parts of your personality.
Okay.
The traits you think are unacceptable, the emotions you try to push down.
Right.
Even those less than positive potentials you might not even want to acknowledge.
So everyone has a shadow self.
Yeah.
Even those people who seem perfect and always have it together.
Absolutely. The shadow is a universal part of being human.
Okay.
It's not about being a good or bad person.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we all have this whole range of emotions and impulses, some of which we're more comfortable with than others.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
The video called Confronting the Shadow a Burden as Well as a Gift.
Right.
It definitely doesn't sound easy.
No, it can be challenging, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's so important for growth.
Okay.
Jung believed that if we ignore or repress the shadow, it could lead to psychological problems, projecting onto others, and ultimately a sense of being incomplete.
So how do we even start to face this shadow self? It's not like we can just schedule a meeting with it, right?
So it starts with awareness.
Okay.
Paying attention to those times when you're projecting your shadow onto others, those things that trigger really strong reaction.
Right.
And those thoughts and feelings you keep pushing away.
So basically a lot of introspection and self-reflection.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not exactly my idea of a fun weekend.
I hear you.
But the goal isn't to get rid of the shadow, right?
Right, exactly.
It's more about integrating it into your personality.
Yes.
Making it work for you, not against you.
Exactly.
Okay, integrate it. How does that actually happen?
Yeah.
Do we just flip a switch and suddenly embrace all our dark impulses?
Well, it's not quite like flipping a switch.
Okay.
Integration is a process. It takes time.
Right.
It involves understanding where your shadow comes from.
Okay.
Accepting that it's there. And finding healthy ways to express its energy.
So instead of letting those shadow impulses control us, we learn to channel that energy in a more positive direction.
Exactly. For example, instead of bottling up anger, you might learn to channel it into being assertive or creative.
Okay.
Jealousy could become motivation to improve yourself.
I see.
Fear could be transformed into caution or being careful.
It's like taking those raw, untamed emotions and refining them into something useful.
Exactly.
Powerful even.
Yeah. By integrating the shadow, you get back all this energy you've been using on repression. You become more whole, more authentic, and ultimately more psychologically healthy.
This is all fascinating.
Yeah.
But is this shadow integration something everyone can do? Or is it just for those chosen ones we talked about earlier?
It's not limited to any specific group.
Okay.
Remember, the video is made for a specific audience.
Right.
But Jung believed that individuation, this journey of becoming a whole self, is something that all humans want.
Okay, so it's not about being chosen,
right,
but about actively choosing to go on this journey of self-discovery.
Exactly.
But I'm still curious about those who are more sensitive to these unconscious forces.
Yeah.
How does shadow work affect them differently?
Well, the video suggests they might have more intense shadow experiences, really vivid dreams, powerful synchronicities, and even challenging things happening in their lives that force them to confront their shadows head on.
So for them, it's less about seeking out the shadow and more about learning to navigate its already strong presence in their lives.
Exactly.
It's like being thrown into the deep end of the pool and having to learn to swim.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
And for these individuals, shadow work can be even more transformative, leading to deeper self-awareness, more creativity, and a stronger sense of purpose.
It's almost like they're being guided on this journey of self-discovery,
whether
they consciously choose it or not. Like those synchronicities we talked about, kind of nudging them in the right direction.
Exactly. And that brings us back to how everything is connected. This idea that we're not just individuals on our own, part of a larger web of meaning and purpose. But even though we're all connected, we each have our own unique path to individuation.
Right. We're all on our own hero's journey, so to speak.
Exactly.
Speaking of journeys, that reminds me of something the video mentioned.
What's that?
The process of individuation. Can you tell us more about that?
Individuation is the process of becoming a whole, integrated self.
Okay.
Embracing all parts of your personality, the shadow, the light, and everything in between.
Right.
It's a journey of self-discovery that leads to more authenticity, more creativity, and a deeper sense of purpose.
So it's not just about confronting our shadows,
but weaving them into the whole picture of who we are.
Yes.
Acknowledging and honoring all parts of ourselves.
Exactly. Individuation is about realizing that those seemingly negative parts of us also hold potential for growth and change. It's about finding wholeness and balance.
This is really insightful.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, it's also a lot to take in.
It is.
I'm starting to understand why Jungian psychology can feel so complex.
It's true. It's a rich and nuanced field, and we've only just scratched the surface. But the key takeaway here is that we're not just passive passengers in our lives. We have the power to actively engage with our unconscious minds. To understand the forces at play, and ultimately to shape our own journey of transformation.
And how does the video suggest we do that? What are some practical steps we can take to start this journey of individuation?
The video highlights a few practices.
Like what?
Dream work, active imagination, and engaging with symbols and myths. So it's about paying attention to the messages in our dreams, exploring our unconscious through creative techniques like active imagination, and finding meaning in those archetypal patterns that show up in our lives.
Exactly. And while the video focuses on those who might be more tuned into these forces, these practices can benefit anyone who wants more self-awareness and personal growth. It's about becoming more conscious, more intentional in how we navigate our inner world.
It's a lot to think about, but also incredibly empowering.
It is. It is.
To think that we have this capacity for growth and transformation within us. Just waiting to be unlocked.
Absolutely. And remember, this journey of individuation is a lifelong process. There's no finish line. Just a continuous unfolding of self-discovery and integration.
So we're all works in progress. Constantly evolving and becoming more of who we truly are.
Exactly.
I love that.
Me too. It makes the journey all the more exciting.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
From shadow work to the process of individuation, it's been fascinating.
It has.
And in our final part, we'll delve into those synchronicities that often go hand in hand with this journey of self-discovery.
Sounds good.
I can't wait to see where this deep dive takes us next.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Carl Jung. We've been exploring some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, we have.
The collective unconscious, the shadow self, this whole idea of individuation.
It's a lot.
But now let's get back to those synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that can sometimes feel like the universe is trying to tell us something. I have to admit, I'm still not totally clear on how to tell the difference between a regular coincidence and a true synchronicity. Is there some kind of secret formula?
You know, it's not so much a formula as it is a feeling. Jung thought that real synchronicities, they have this sense of deep meaning.
They often come with a feeling of awe or wonder, maybe even chills down your spine. It's that gut feeling of like, whoa, this can't just be random.
So it's not just about the event itself, but how it affects you personally.
Exactly.
The video talks about finding a book that perfectly answers a question you've been thinking about. Running into someone right when you need them, or having a dream that seems to predict something that's going to happen.
It's those moments where the inner and outer worlds line up in a way that doesn't make sense with our usual ideas of cause and effect.
And those moments can be really powerful.
They can, especially for those who are tuned into their unconscious mind.
Right, those chosen ones the video talks about. Yeah. So for those folks, it's not just about noticing these synchronicities, but figuring out what they mean and how they relate to their own journey. Sure. It's like they have this special decoder ring for the universe's messages.
I like that analogy.
Thanks.
It's less about being chosen and more about having a stronger sensitivity to those subtle messages from the universe.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
Jung believed that synchronicities aren't only for a special few.
Right.
They're available to anyone who is open to experiencing them.
That's right.
So how can we develop that openness, that ability to see these meaningful coincidences?
It can be simpler than you think.
Okay.
It starts with being more mindful in our everyday lives.
Okay.
Paying attention to those little random events, those unexpected connections, those times when things just seem to fall into place.
So it's about being more aware.
Yeah.
More tuned in to those little patterns and connections that we might normally miss.
Exactly. And when we do that, we open ourselves up to a whole new level of meaning.
The video even suggests that synchronicities can be like bridges between the conscious and unconscious minds, bringing to light those parts of ourselves that we might be ignoring or pushing away.
That's right.
That's fascinating. So that these synchronicities, they're not just random things happening. They're potentially valuable signs on our journey of self-discovery.
Exactly. They can give us glimpses into our shadow selves.
Okay.
Point us towards what we're really meant to do.
Right.
Or even guide us toward reaching our full potential.
That's a pretty amazing perspective.
Yeah.
But it also makes me wonder.
What's that?
If these synchronicities are so important, why don't we experience them more often?
Right.
Is there something blocking our ability to tune in?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
It could be lots of things.
Like what?
Distractions, being too busy. Maybe even fear of what we might find out.
Right.
But the good news is we can actively get better at noticing synchronicities.
Okay. How?
Well, the video suggests keeping a journal to write them down.
Okay.
Thinking deeply about what they mean.
Right.
Maybe even using active imagination to explore their symbolic significance.
So it's not just about passively observing these coincidences, but actively working with them, trying to understand what they're trying to show us.
Exactly. Remember, we're not just passive bystanders in our own lives.
Right.
We have the power to shape our reality and create more meaning.
Wow. This is all so empowering.
It is, isn't it?
To think that we can not only recognize these synchronicities, but actually work with them and unlock their potential.
That's the power of it.
It really is.
And it speaks to how everything is connected, that we're not just individuals, but part of a larger web of meaning.
Well, I think we've covered a lot in this deep dive into Carl Jung.
We have.
We've explored some really big ideas.
Big ideas, yeah.
The collective unconscious, the shadow self, the power of archetypes, individuation, and of course, those facets.
It's been a journey.
It really has. And I hope it's encouraged you to pay more attention to those seemingly random events in your life, to explore those moments of synchronicity that might be trying to tell you something. Absolutely. Who knows what insights or guidance might be out there waiting to be discovered.
That's the exciting part.
As we wrap up this episode,
yeah,
I want to encourage you, our listeners, to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your eyes open for those little winks from the universe.
I love that.
You never know what magic you might find.